Hello, YouTube, and welcome to another lovely Monday morning, afternoon, evening, whatever it is in your part of the world. I am, of course, the E03 illustrious game master, MINDflayer, and black hole enthusiast. So, let us just go ahead and roll back into it because I have a few topics I want to talk about today. Of course, I am creatively bankrupt as it is, so we'll see how long that lasts. But yeah, one thing I wanted to say is that there is an update on the whole NSFW situation. As of, what was it, Sunday or Saturday? Pretty recently, what ended up happening is itch.io did end up relisting all NSFW games that were not tied to a payment processor, aka my stuff, because I don't collect payment on itch. And what that means is that all of my games are currently relisted. So that's a good news. That's good news. We are now discoverable and people can find and download our stuff very easily. So that's a good thing. The problem is that I feel this is probably going to be how do I say this? A very temporary situation. And what I mean by that is that the ethos or the thinking of itch.io moving forward is that for, saucy sort of games or saucy sort of content that you can't actually use certain payment processors for it. So, for example, if you try to buy a spicy game, you can't use Stripe or you can't use PayPal, etc., etc. And itch is seeking out new payment processors that are NSFW friendly. But the issue is that these payment processors can still unilaterally decide that, hey, we don't want to process your content, or hey, your site is hosting content we don't like, therefore we are not going to do business with you. So the problem is still that payment processors are holding everyone hostage because they just don't want to do NSFW stuff, which is not great in the long scheme of things. It's something where overwhelmingly there isn't really a true NSFW safe payment processor because, once again, everything goes through Visa, everything goes through MasterCard. So we're just in another wait and see situation where the situation has at least improved a little bit, but the majority of the issue is still very much present, if that makes any sense. So we're once again in a holding pattern. Fun stuff there. But overall, what I've been doing is I've been again talking with my artists, talking with the people I work with, and we think we have at least a safer work path moving forward. It's just a matter of retaining our core Patreon audience, as it were, because Patreon is how we collect all of our funds. And if Patreon people decide, hey, we don't want to support, this product or this line anymore, that's where we start to get into trouble. And is there another? I think there's another one. Let me look. Can't really tell because, I'm going to go sleep so that this is, we can actually see what the heck we're doing. And yeah, about that techno. So MasterCard basically put out a statement, and I might be wrong in this, so feel free to correct me, but MasterCard basically put out a statement that said, hey, we didn't do this, stop yelling at us, etc., etc. And then Valve posted receipts saying, yes, you did do this, and you are the one we need to be yelling at, kind of a thing. So MasterCard is trying to gaslight. Visa is not a whole lot better. What am I doing? Here we go. Visa's not doing a whole lot better. They're kind of like, hey, stop calling us, as Techno alluded to. But obviously the fact that 1,000 people are why we were in the situation in the first place. I think the calls are working to some degree. Eventually they're going to have to make a statement. They're going to have to do something. But at the same time, it's like, great, we still haven't resolved anything. Stop bullying us. No. It's just, I just wish that, this didn't happen when it did because, this has started to happen at a time where, how do I say this? It's happening when obviously the UK safety law is in effect now. It's happening in a time where we have bills in Congress and bills in other places of the world where everybody's trying to roll back protections for everybody. And it's just, this all hit within like a month of each other. Like, it would be one thing if, this happened in a month and then this happened in a month, etc., etc. But it really does feel like, all of this was designed and planned to happen one right after each other. Like, it's hard to really understand where all of this is coming from all at once. Like, we need to pump the handbrake, as it were, and just be like, hey, hold on, wait a second. And yeah, it's one thing for Karens and all that to yell at Mastercard, and it's one thing for quote unquote gamers to call in and yell at people, but it's just it's consenting adults, man. Let consenting adults consume what consenting adults want to consume. And as long as nobody in real life is getting hurt and it's not violating any actual like laws on the books, then let them do whatever. But it is something where I think, as Techno just said, but it's going to be one of those situations where we are in an age where people are becoming more vocal and people are trying to fight back best they can. So we are in a situation where there is pushback. It's just a matter of getting the governments of the world to cooperate. So, it's we're at the end of the day, we're going to go one of two ways. Either we're going to end up in a situation where NSFW content is banned completely, which then in turn bans LGBTQIA content, which in turn is a slippery slope to anything that the government does not want you to consume at all. And then we have another Great Firewall of China situation. So you don't see the fish button. Fish button's off simply because I was having issues getting it to work with the Warudo update, and I didn't have time to really sit there and play with it to make it work again. But I'll have it back working for another stream. All right, so we want to leave everything but one. And everything but... we need two. And, I'll plant 2 trees as well. All right, we have that, we have that, we have a chest. Okay. The UK has borked for now. They won't be repealing the Online Safety Act according to government response. We'll keep plugging away at it. Yeah, the problem is, at least as far as I'm aware, and of course you're in the UK, so you actually know what's going on a lot better than I do. My understanding is that, like, this isn't even on the government's radar. Like, this isn't in the news. This isn't something that is being discussed all the time. Like, this sort of just got passed and everybody in the UK is just like, well, I guess that's it. So, my understanding is it's just not being covered. If you want to throw a fish at ELH, you have to make an appointment IRL to do it. I mean, listen, if you want to throw fish, there are many ways to do so. Oh God, I need to eat something. Where's that apple? Hello, Kern. Welcome on in. But yeah, in other news, we are hoping to have Babylon tonight in about 6 or so hours. And the hope is that we will sort of be continuing where we last left off. It's going to be one of those situations where ELH may or may not have lost the VOD for the half a session we did. So we're going to be switching gears and doing something a little bit different. And it'll all make sense in character. And it'll all make sense in the narrative. But, you know, it's going to be one of those situations where maybe a little bit of deja vu happens, if you get my meaning. And if not, tune in later tonight or on YouTube, and you'll get to see that lovely conclusion, as it were. Is it a time loop techno, or is it some sort of Q shenanigans? There's many possibilities of what it could be. Many, many possibilities. But yeah, it's something where a lot of my games have been suffering from the scheduling bleh that is summer. And I had a discussion with one of the groups, and I was like, hey, you know, I want to keep playing, and I know some of you want to keep playing, but is everybody, you know, wanting to keep playing? And some groups are like, no, we want to stop, and we call it there. Other groups are like, yeah, we want to get back to the table and play. And honestly, as long as, you know, the people at the table want to be there, I'll run the game. Because, you know, all my sessions are recorded, and that means I can go back and refresh myself what I was thinking and doing before we went on like a hiatus of some kind. But there's also the issue of, what did Arwen say? Quiet quitting, I think is how he put it. Where it just is getting to the point where, you know, some games are simply just off for too long, and people are like already scheduling as if it will not run, aka double booking themselves. So, oh, Caspian, looks like your mission brief got posted a continuing mission. If what Kern is saying is correct, congratulations. I presume you just sent it to Michael Dismuke, and he's just like, yeah, I'll post it, kind of a thing. Because if he didn't, I technically could do it. I think I still have access to continuing mission. But cool. Glad you got it up there and consumable for everybody. Congratulations. All right, and I need 2 cherry saplings. Put cherry there. And cherry there. All right. Okay, I think what we're going to do for today is we're going to try and find a good place to actually start the mining part of Minecraft. Because we have broken nether, we have broken portals to the nether I need to explore. For that, I'm going to need diamond and iron and a whole bunch of other things. So, I like the look of that thing up there. But we also have this cave ravine over here that I think might have more promise. Yeah, and I can imagine, Caspian, that the response on your mission brief will be pretty good. I will, of course, run it for Wolf Ray this Wednesday, assuming we can get everybody at the table. And it should be a good time overall. I was very excited and very happy to read your mission brief. Yeah, I definitely know. I know that feeling, Techno, where it's like, yeah, I want to do this, and I want to do this, and I want to do this. And it's like, when do I have the time for it? So I know that feeling quite well. Okay, I think we should be good. Let me make another pickaxe here. Just so we have a backup one for when it breaks. And then I think we have a... Do I have coal in this chest? I do. Let's make some torches. Alright, we have plenty of torches now. Alright, let's go mining. Yeah, it's a matter of finding time, and it's a matter of, you know, finding a space to be creative. Oh, wait a second, we got to get this sugar cane because we want paper, so we have to harvest the sugar cane. But it is a situation where I know, at least for me, you know, it's not something where I can be like, oh yeah, and I'm going to use the time I was working on other projects to work on a different project. And you know, a lot of people think, oh, you know, you can just be creative whenever. And the answer to that, as any creative will tell you, is that you can't necessarily just turn on a switch and be creative. Like, there is no way to, you know, all of a sudden be like, oh yeah, and I'm going to be working on this today, or something of that nature. Like, it just does not work overall. And it is a situation where, especially for some media, that I still want to know what the heck that is up there. You know, for some people, you know, you can switch gears very quickly, but for a lot of people, myself included, I think we'll just start the mine here. We'll just mine down from here. But it's something where a lot of the media that I create requires very specific moods to write. And it's not just something where I can be like, oh yeah, today I'm going to write for so-and-so project. Or today I'm going to, you know, do this or do that. Like, it just, in the grand scheme of things, I wish it worked like that, but it really doesn't. Alright, so we're just gonna do the Minecraft staple of just mining downwards. Alright, we got a bunch of gravel. Okay. Just have to hope the gravel doesn't collapse on us. Oh, flint. We got flint. Nice. And it's just... It would be very nice if being creative worked like that, but... I think that's also just part of the struggle of being creative in general, where it's... You're fighting yourself, and you're fighting motivation, and you're fighting a whole bunch of scenarios. Alright, I think I'm going to have to start putting the torch, because this is all gravel, so we're just going to have to work around it. It's just a situation where the project I'm really excited to work on now, and I think I can talk about it because it's safe for work, and I really don't mind linking it to this account, but there's a project I'm working on, or at least is in the initial stages, that is essentially a safe for work visual novel that is concerning what makes you happy. And I don't mean that as like a euphemism or anything. I mean like genuinely, you know, what is happiness to someone? Is it, you know, having money? Is it having friends? Is it having someone you love or a pet that you love? Like, what makes a person happy? And what happens when, you know, that sudden rip away of that happiness? How do you cope? How do you reorient yourself? What is it you do to continue or try to be happy again? So it's not something that's like high art, or it's not something that is, you know, super, you know, avant-garde, and, you know, it's like, oh yeah, I wanna, you know, make this a Pulitzer Prize winning thing. Like, it's a very basic story, all things considered. Ooh, okay, good thing we made another pickaxe. It is something where I'm not trying to win an Emmy or something like that. I literally am just taking the moment to sort of just decompress and work through some stuff. And I will say that I already know that some people are going to take what the message is the wrong way, is how I think I'll put it. Where, you know, they're going to see the content I put out for this visual novel, and they're going to think, oh, well, you know, why isn't this main character happy? They have everything that I've ever wanted. But that's the point of the story, is that, you know, this character may have everything that you may want, but it doesn't make her happy. And what may make you happy doesn't make her happy. And I will fully admit that it is, what is this, andesite? Yeah. I will fully admit that, part of this is maybe a little bit angsty, maybe a little bit, what's the expression? Indie games and symbolism, said in a derogatory way. But it just, I feel like writing this, and I think it'll be a nice thing to tide us over until the itch situation has stabilized somewhat. Because it's not like we're doing anything that we wouldn't normally do. All right, what is this? This is granite. Okay, cool. It is something that, our core audience will hopefully still find value in this game. Because most of my games, if not all of my games, are story first or game within a game first before any looseness happens. And the hope is that by going safe for work on this title, that people will vibe with it. That's the hope. But yeah, I mean, you're all right, Evil Intent and Kern, and it's a very subjective matter. But that's kind of what I want to hammer home with the visual novel, is that, as the saying goes, it is possible to do everything right, and it is possible to have everything you want, but to still be unhappy. And part of the message I want to send isn't so much that some people are so greedy and so unable to stop chasing after things that they will never be happy. Like, that's not the message I want to send. The message I want to send is, maybe be kinder to yourself, maybe be, a little bit kinder to others, standard Mr. Rogers stuff. But to write that kind of, are we super sure that being unhappy isn't an adult theme? Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. All right, what is this? This is, okay, diorite. All right, never seen that before, but sure. It's possible to commit no mistakes and still lose. That is not a weakness. That is life. Exactly. Exactly, Techno. And I think that was Picard season 3, 4, maybe, that said that. Either way, good line from Picard. Actually, I wondered, can I hold this in my right hand? Oh, well, there we go. That'll make mining, and this will make it more visually appealing for all of you. Sorry about that. But speaking of Star Trek, just because, Star Trek, it's what we do here. I have been going back and rewatching DS9 from the very beginning, and I'm not particularly far in. I just started the Move Along Home episode, which, if you need a reminder, or you're not sure what that means, is that's the D&D episode where the Wadi come through the wormhole. All right, we need to make a crafting table real quick. The Wadi come through the table or the wormhole, and they're like, hey, we want to play games. And they basically kidnap or otherwise abduct the senior staff of DS9 and play D&D. Except they don't know that they're playing D&D. You did that recently, now rewatching Voyager? Best of luck to you. I have to skip seasons 1 and season 2 of Voyager simply because I don't like Kes as a character, and simply because, like every Trek show, kind of, season 1 is always rough, no matter what Trek show you're watching, but some season 1s are so bad that it's just hard to get back into. Let me see. I don't know. I've been happy most of my adult life. Once you got out of your depression, you was 15 and accepted who I am. I don't care what other people think about me. See, and that's the thing, Lord Exile, is that, part of the reason I'm wanting to write this sort of game in the first place is, let me actually split this up into 2 stacks here. Part of the reason I'm wanting to write this in the way I am is because I have been severely depressed Pretty much since my teenage years. I think pretty much it was 18, 17 when it kicked in, and, that was, as I do math in my head here, that was almost 2 decades ago. And sure, I've learned coping mechanisms for it, and I have gotten a little bit better about it here and there. But at the end of the day, I'm still depressed as heck. I know it probably doesn't sound like it because I'm streaming and I'm trying to be upbeat, but sometimes depression is not something that is easily defeated. And I think, what was it? I forget who made the original quote, but there's this Klingon doctor saying, or Klingon therapist saying, where it's like, the battle against depression is one of the most honorable battles you can ever take, because it is against an enemy that swells 1,000 times when you look the other direction, and that it never backs down, and that to be able to resist against such odds and be able to otherwise ignore that voice in your head that is telling you these things, it is one of the most noble and glory-filled fights you can ever do, kind of a situation. So there's a reason I like Klingons as therapists, not just because of that quote, but it is something where I think a lot of people who have not been through depression, or a lot of people who are currently struggling with depression, this game I'm making, I want to make for them. Like, I want it to be something where, people who are, all right, we're pretty far down at this point. Cool. I want people to feel comfortable talking about these things. I want people to, I want people to feel comfortable just in their own skin and admitting that, there is no, okay, we got a bunch of gravel. Great. That there is no easy fix for some of these situations. Or, as the saying goes, it's okay to not be okay. Is this game something you'll be linking when it's done, or is it going on the other account name? It'll go on the other account name, and it will be something that I probably will retweet, reskeet, whatever the heck the expression is on Blue Sky. Plague Doctor, hello, welcome on in. It will be something that I will at least do a little bit of social media stuff for. What is this? Deep Slate. Okay, cool. I don't know what that is, but sure. Oh, look, more iron. Sweet. But it will be something that I want people to have a conversation with. And I think we'll have the assets where the old Bedrock layer used to be. Oh, okay. Okay, that's what this is. And it's interesting you say that, Lord Exile. It's, some people say that the art of not giving a fuck is how you defeat depression. And for some people that works. And I'm happy for the people that it works for. Like, if that works for you, great. All the more power to you. Good job. Kind of thing. And I don't mean that in like a condescending way. But it is something where, for some people like myself, like, that just does not work. Where I can tell myself, hey, the feelings that you're feeling are just depression talking. People don't actually think of you like that. Or the stuff you make is valuable. And just like the Klingon therapist saying, the problem is that you maybe defeat it for a day or a few hours or maybe even heck a week, but it always comes back no matter what you do. And it's just, again, this is a game I want there to be a conversation about. And this is the kind of game that I want there to be an ability to play it on stream. Because while the games I put out are, technically they have spicy content switches where you can turn off the spicy content and stream and do YouTube videos of it. The problem is that those games were made NSFW first, where that was the main goal of the project. So obviously there's a lot more adult language, a lot more adult situations. Whereas a safe for work game like this one we're talking about, it is designed very differently from the ground up. So it's we'll see what happens. Like, I'm hoping we'll have at least the first update, because I think it'll probably be a 2 or 3 update game. But I think the very first update we'll have all the content for by the end of August. So theoretically, we should be able to release the game either early September or heck at the very end of August, depending on when the assets all come in. All right, we need to throw another torch here and another torch here. So I think at the rate we're going, we're gonna hit bedrock here soon. We have gotten a lot of iron, which I appreciate. Because right now, we're really just hunting for diamond. Alright, well, here's more iron. That's always a good thing. So, I talked about that a little bit before, Evil Intent. The games are relisted on itch. Oh yeah, Lacrosse, thank you for dropping by. Have a good one. So, the games did end up getting relisted on itch because they were not tied. Also, Gray Matter, hello. They were not tied to a payment processor, aka we were not accepting payments for those games. And at the end of the day, that means yes, our projects are discoverable, and it is something where, you know, it is once again easy to find our content, is how I'll put it. But the problem is that, as I said, we don't know how long this is going to be the situation. It could very easily change in mere hours or days, kind of a thing. Because it is sorely dependent on, you know, itch finding a payment processor that isn't going to yank the rug out from them again. And yeah, Gray Matter, I definitely feel you. I definitely feel you on that one, because, you know, I was hit too, and it's not just the NSFW games that were hit. You know, it was the LGBTQIA games that got hit in the crossfire. Some horror games got hit in the crossfire, and it's not a fun situation overall. It just isn't really conducive to, how do I say this? It's not a stable situation, is how I'll put it. We all wish it was stable, but it isn't. And I don't think it's going to be stable for a long time. But such is the world that we live in. Yeah, and I don't know, like, as much as I want to hope that, you know, the amount of pushback that Visa and MasterCard are getting on their stuff, you know, I hope that there is a change, but it is also something that is probably going to require a actual bill or something in Congress, at least for the US. But it also is a very slippery slope, because let's say, for example, that the current bill, I don't remember the name of it, it's like 5 something if I remember correctly, but there is a bill in committee, if I remember correctly, that, how do I say, I'll get to that in a moment, Gray Matter, but it is something where, you know, the bill that is proposed would completely make it so banks and payment processors, you know, they can't really deplatform you, kind of thing. Like, if you do something bad, they can't deplatform you. Like, they have to be neutral. On the surface, that's a good thing, because you don't want banks to just be able to decide, oh, we don't like this person anymore, and we don't want to handle their payments anymore. You would think that's a good thing. However, the problem is that it's not just, you know, like deplatforming would become almost impossible. So, for example, crypto scams, banks wouldn't be able to shut those off. Scammers in general, once again, banks would not be able to cut them off. And, this is the kind of stuff where, it's we want there to be no regulation, but we also need there to be at least a little bit of regulation so that, we're not platforming people that are scamming others, that are doing illegal stuff, things like that. But there's so many situations where what is illegal can be twisted that, this is going to be a discussion that we will be having for a very long time, unfortunately. Because what one person considers illegal may not be illegal in another part of the world, or it may be a situation where, is it illegal if no real life person was harmed in the making? And it's just, there's a lot of discussion around this right now. And some of it's good, some of it's bad. But at the end of the day, we're once again in a wait and see. But to return to Gray Matter's statement there for a moment, that's kind of why I pulled back from streaming. And it is kind of why I went a little bit quiet on the streaming front, is because, I was obviously making more money and more consistent money doing these NSFW games. And, consistency is important, especially in a situation like streaming, where streaming is very dependent on producing bits. And I don't mean like the bit money. I mean like bits as in comedy bits. But in either Zatsudaning or just chatting and capturing people's that way, or doing a bunch of bits to bring in new viewers that throw things at you just because you're being funny streamer man. And, it's a situation that I feel for you, like Gray Matter, and it is something that, I deeply empathize with, because once again, I was in the similar situation. And I just wish there was more of a discussion, and I just wish there was more thought going behind these process. I just wish there were more options, because as it stands, Visa and MasterCard are so ingrained into our society that you can't just boycott one or the other. Like, no matter what you do, most banks in the world, not just in the United States, but most banks in the world use Visa and MasterCard. Most businesses use Visa and MasterCard. So it is a situation where we can't just easily vote with our wallet. Like, we literally cannot decouple ourselves from Visa and MasterCard. And, that sucks, because they have a duopoly right now. And there is no way to easily get rid of a duopoly like that. So it's just a shitty situation all around. But as the saying goes, it is what it is. Yay. So American Express, I don't think has said anything, Ravens. And American Express, to my understanding, has a higher transaction fee, and that's why American Express aren't really accepted everywhere, because there's that higher transaction fee. And American Express, there's pushback from businesses, because they're like, hey, we don't want to pay the 3 or 4 or 5% that American Express is charging. Or, hey, you want to use American Express? All right, here's an extra 5% charge, kind of a thing. So it is a thing. And yeah, you're not wrong, Gray Matter, where a lot of the time, discussion... Ooh, is that Lapis Lazuli? I think that's Lapis Lazuli. A lot of time, discussion like this is, oh, I don't want to talk about politics. Or, oh, I don't want to discuss this because it's making me uncomfortable. But that's kind of the point of the conversation in the first place. If it's making you uncomfortable, and it is making you, question something that you've held as a belief, or it's making you question your stance on something, then that is a conversation that needs to happen. It's something where, sure, you can stick your head in the sand and you can pretend, oh, well, I don't feel comfortable talking about this, or, oh, I don't believe in this. I'm not going to speak up, or I don't want to talk about certain things. But, as I've said before, NSFW content is the canary in the coal mine. And once NSFW content gets banned, or delisted, or deplatformed, it is a very quick slope into LGBTQIA content getting banned for being quote-unquote pornographic. And once you do that, you accelerate very hard into a place nobody wants to go, is how I'll put it. So, it's a situation where, we need to be able to talk about these sorts of things as a society, but society as a whole also isn't mature enough to talk about it, if that makes sense, unironically. And yeah, that is the problem, Techno, is that some people do want to go to the place that I'm alluding to, but, we can't change people's minds like that. In my experience, once somebody has a mindset like that of accelerationism and doomerism and things like that, it is very hard to break them out of it, and very hard for them to accept the fact that they might be wrong in some degree. And that's what bricks are for. Kind of. But it is just something where, overall, we're living in the consequences of our actions at the moment, where voting has consequences. And it's going to be... I do need stairs. I probably do need stairs. It is just a situation where a lot of things are going to get worse before they get better, is how I'll put it. And there isn't going to be an easy fix to a lot of the problems we face as a global society. But we'll just all sort of have to sit back and be, sort of waiting of, okay, what happens next? What do we do next? Kind of a thing. So we'll find out together of where this is all going. Mm-hmm. Yep. All right, so we're going to smelt all this iron. And let me see. Do I have regular wood? No, of course I don't have regular wood. Why would I have regular wood? Why would anybody have regular wood? All right, well, I guess we got a bunch of cherry logs, so I guess we'll use that. All right, so let me take the sand away. And we'll start smelting this iron. Yeah, see, Japan's in a little bit of a better situation because... How do I put this? Let me take a drink as I think about this. So, my understanding of the Japan situation is that they are very much sanctioning. Are they sanctioning something along those lines? They're doing something with MasterCard and Visa where it's like, hey, we don't want you doing this in our country, kind of a thing. So they're sanctioning Visa and MasterCard. And you know what? I need a whole nother chest for this. Let's just make a whole nother chest. Put all this stuff away. So it is a situation where, Japan is a little bit better about this. And Japan has a different society, is how I'll put it. And they're able to get away from Visa and MasterCard a little bit better. But, to not really rag on the Japan situation, but Japan has always kind of been a little bit weird when it comes to NSFW, when it comes to, explicit content, is how I'll put it. So this is nothing new in the grand scheme of things, but it also is a situation where, how do I want to say it? It's a situation where, God, I can't really figure out how I want to say it. I think I know how I want to say it. Basically, Japan's going to do Japan things, is how I'll put it. So, if Japan doing Japan things is good, great. And that's the thing about their society, gray matter, is Japan is very much keep your head down, don't be the part that sticks up, just stay in your lane. Like that is a very Japan thing. And it's something that they have as a society been dealing with. But then there's some problems with that. I mean, obviously if you were to go there as like a visit, for example, if you went to Japan as a tourist, one of my friends has been to Japan recently with their family, and they went before. Like this isn't like their first go to Japan. Like, they've been to Japan before as a tourist. The problem is that tourism in Japan is currently very much being frowned upon, where it is very much oh great, you're a tourist, when are you leaving kind of a situation. And it is something that is, I understand why they're in that situation and why they don't really want to deal with tourists anymore, because they're almost over tourismed, if that makes any sense. And it's not just in Japan, like it's happening in places like Korea, South Korea, and it's happening in places that are big travel destinations, as it were. And it is just a situation, yeah, I mean, with all the scandals that are going on and everything else, it's just, I get it, but at the same time, it's like, do we really had to go there? Like, do we really have to go there as a society? Kind of a thing. Yeah, it's a form of isolationism. But that's a global thing where like, everybody in the world is becoming isolationist, unfortunately. All right, so we now have iron tools. We now have, God, that is a terrible golden shovel. Absolutely terrible. All right, we got copper, we got sand. Great. Let me, in fact, just throw all this sand there, so we got a bunch of glass. Yeah, we got a golden helmet from one of the nether portals, the broken portals. Now we need more iron for boots of some kind. All right. Let me see. All right, so stuff grew on the islands. Let me go chop all that down. And then we'll go back into the mines, maybe. Actually, I'm trying to remember where the mostly complete nether portal was. Because if I can find that mostly complete nether portal again, now that I have iron, I think we can go and we can find where that nether portal goes. Yeah, I think that's what we'll do after we chop down all these trees. Because we need a lot of dark wood here. And a lot of dark wood here. Because now that we have a golden helmet, the pigmen should leave us alone, which is a good thing. It's really only the gas and the blazes we're going to have to worry about. Did they nerf golden equipment? Back in my day, golden equipment was worthless. I mean, they made it so you now have a benefit for having at least one thing of gold. The pigmen that are in the nether will not attack you if you have a gold whatever on you. So it is now worth having something gold, if that makes any sense. So there is an incentive now to do it. Alright, that should all start collapsing unless I missed a piece of wood somewhere. Okay, it's all collapsing. Excellent. So, yeah, I think the portal's over there if I had to think where it is. I want to say it's over there to the right. Yeah, one of the things I'd like to do is maybe add some red to this pink and dark wood. I think some red would be cool. It's just a matter of finding what we need in the nether, really. And I love the cherry blossom in general, just because it looks so nice. Alright, we gotta get that piece of wood. And then we mine this way. But one other thing I wanted to just get people's read on is, do people find achievement hunting streams to be something worth watching? Or is it more just a matter of, you know, hey, ELH Funny Man is on the screen, I'll watch ELH no matter what ELH does? Like, is there actual value in me doing achievement hunting streams? Or, you know, are people just here to be here? Because it's one thing for me to do Minecraft, because Minecraft is pretty easy for me to turn off my brain and just mine the craft, as it were. But I very much want to still provide content that people want to see. Like, I still want there to be a certain level of buy-in where you're at least entertained whenever I'm not yapping. Because as much as it is a streamer's job to yap, you know, there do need to be moments where, you know, the game carries for a little bit, kind of a thing. And that's actually why I haven't run games like Metal Gear Solid, because I know I like Metal Gear Solid, and I know a lot of other people like Metal Gear Solid. The problem, though, is that games like Metal Gear Solid are very cutscene heavy. And I don't want there to be these long periods of silence if, you know, or if people really want me to just react to it. Because you will listen to what ELH is saying. Well, thank you, Kern. It's a situation where, and there's a lot of talk about this sort of thing and a lot of discussion, but if you start playing Fortnite, you're out. No, I will never play Fortnite. Fortnite is not for me. Not my game. It's a situation where there's a lot of discussion about, you know, the optimal way to stream, quote unquote. And the thinking is that if you want to be the most optimal streamer you can be, you do one of a few things. And the first kind is you become a react streamer, because there is no end to content that people want you to react to, and reacting to content is very easy from a streamer perspective. But unless you are actively engaging with the content you are reacting to, you are not going to really grow as a react streamer, is how I'll put it. Where you need to be adding something to the reaction. Like, for example, you know, let me react to this base, for example. Let me just take a step back, you know, and we can look at this base. And, you know, this is we'll call this option 1, react streaming. Yeah, okay. Okay. Oh, that's interesting. Oh, I like that. Okay, so that's option 1. That is the most very basic, you know, reacting. Where you are literally just saying, "Oh yeah, that's cool," or "Yeah, that works." Or you can just say whatever. And you're not really adding anything to that experience. Now, let me get this shot again. And I'll show you an example of another way of react streaming. Oh, okay, I like that. You know, maybe I would have gone with a different color there, or, you know, hey, maybe this guy can expand that out and maybe do some kind of underwater landing. I think that would be really cool. yeah, you know, I can see the potential here. And that's another style of React streaming where you are adding a little bit to what is being done. But then there's option 3, React streaming. Oh, well, okay, you know, he's using that kind of wood. You know, I wouldn't really recommend using that kind of wood because, you know, it degrades pretty easily. And I know that, you know, there's a darker wood out there that could really help him out. In fact, you know, that reminds me of a time when I was building my own Minecraft base and I was doing so and so. And you see what I'm doing there, where I'm adding more to what is being reacted to. But it all comes down to the level of effort you want to put into your content. Because if you are just wanting to coast by like XQC or other streamers like XQC, and you literally are just collecting that paycheck, then basic React streaming is the way to go. But, and yeah, Evil Intent, that kind of React streaming is option 2 or 3, is how I'll put it. Where you are actively adding something you are skilled in, or you are actively adding something you have knowledge in to the reaction. And that is something that is extremely valuable in the terms of reaction content. But Lord Exile and Evil Intent also bring up the good point is you are essentially profiting off of others when you do React content. Where, you know, everybody is making their own content that you are then showing to your viewers, and they are not getting ad revenue for you showing it to your viewers. And it's one thing if you go back and you link, you know, where these things came from and the thing you're reacting to, so that maybe even just a small amount of people go out and actually, you know, maybe support those other creators. But the long and short of it is React streaming has its ups and downs, is how I'll put it. And the downs are, of course, that, you know, the people who made the content you're reacting to aren't really getting supported. Unless you're like, you know, a top tier streamer with thousands of viewers where you're like, oh, yeah, let me watch this funny YouTuber real quick. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, well, that person's really funny. How about we all give them a follow? And, you know, that's how some people break out, is because of these React streamers, you know, who have these huge platforms being like, hey, yeah, let's all go support this person. And then suddenly that person's waking up to, you know, thousands of subscribers. And they're like, what the heck did I do? What am I doing? And, you know, that's sort of the dream as a smaller streamer and as a smaller content creator, is for that to happen, where you get discovered. Where, ooh, there's a spider over there. Where you are incentivized to just keep putting out content because you got noticed, if that makes any sense. And, you know, it's, again, there's ups and downs to React streaming. And, oh, is that a creeper? Or is that a sunflower? I think that's a sunflower. Yeah, it's a sunflower. You know, it's something where I personally don't like React content. Now, I know I've done some React content before when I was doing collabs with Benno. But for the most part, unless it's TTRPG content I'm reacting to, I don't feel that just chatting or React streaming really, I don't feel there's a lot I can add of value to that sort of thing. And I would much rather add value than just do the, oh, okay, yeah, that's cool, oh, wow, kind of React streaming. Like, I don't think there's value in that. All right, let's go find that nether portal and see if we can light it back up. Actually, let me bring the obsidian with me, just in case. All right. But that's where I kind of stand on React content, where I know some of you will literally just show up to hear me yap and listen to me talk about literally anything, which I appreciate. I really do. Your voice is relaxing, so just chatting is pretty chill. I mean, that's the thing. Some people have requested that I do ASMR, and I've talked about this before, so I won't blather about it too long, but if someone were to get me a script for ASMR, I'd read it. but I don't want to have to write my own content, if that makes any sense. Where I am not a skilled enough ASMR writer because I don't consume ASMR content. Um, I don't know what kind of things people who consume ASMR are really looking for. Because I don't watch ASMR. I don't really follow that scene, but people keep requesting it of me. So I guess what I'm saying is, if you want me to read you an ASMR script, please submit it to my email, submit it in the comments. Just shoot me whatever it is the heck you want me to read, and I'll look into it. Because technically I have a microphone for it, and technically I know how to record ASMR. It's just that I have never done it in long form. When I first started streaming, I did have an ASMR Redeem, which was mostly used for jokes and giggles. But, it's something I'm willing to do. Just give me a script, that kind of thing. And see, so I'm an audiophile in the fact that I need there to be certain levels of audio quality for me to be able to consume a stream or be able to consume. Oh, we need a block of obsidian. Boop. There we go, and we're off to the nether. This will either go amazingly or it'll go poorly very quickly. Let's find out together. And survey says... Okay. Well, right next to lava. That's great. So lava that way. Let's explore over here. See if we can find a... We're going to have to mark this somehow. The question is how to mark it. I guess we'll do it with cobblestone? Well, let's mine out so it's a little bit more visible. But yeah, I guess what why I brought this all up and why I'm curious about what people want me to do in terms of content is I am, like I said when this whole spicy stuff happened, I am trying to stream more. I am trying to make this a little bit more consistent of income, or at least get more people to support my works in other regards. So, I am trying to broaden my horizons, is how I'll put it. So if you are interested in a certain kind of content from me, please do let me know. Ooh, nether quartz. Nice. Because, at the end of the day, I don't mind doing streams like this because I can just sort of brain off and chat with chat. But at the same time, is it compelling content is the question. Again, that's something you all as viewers have to tell me. And, I'll keep doing it as long as people literally tune in. Literally only listen to music to rid myself of emotion, angry music when you're angry, sad when you're sad, etc., etc. So that is a very common thing with music, and the expression is that, we use... Let me see if lava is that way, then we need to mine out straight this way. It's a situation where music decorates time, where music is something that, we use to decorate and pass time. And sometimes music can be a very powerful tool when you are experiencing an emotion and just trying to get through, kind of a thing. I think we might just be literally mining into nothingness. Hold on. Hold on. Okay, well, we got more nether quartz. That's exciting. Probably should have come in here with more than one pickaxe. Yeah, I should have come in here with more than one pickaxe. At least we'll have all the nether quartz we want. Don't remember what nether quartz is used for, but we'll have a bunch of it. But for me, when it comes to music, I'm the kind of person that, like I said earlier, you know, it takes me a certain mood to really lock in and focus on certain types of content. But music can be a very powerful tool in my arsenal to quote unquote lock in, to otherwise be able to. Oh, there's lava. Well, that's a problem. That's a problem. Welp. Guess we're not going that way. Yeah, I was gonna say, if this was modded Minecraft, I'd be able to do a lot of things with nether quartz, but this is not modded Minecraft. This is just straight up vanilla. Alright, well, I'm trying to think if there's a good way to go about it, because I'm almost about to lose my iron pickaxe. Let's see. Don't really see if there's anything there. Let's go back to our main base and let's try to get some more iron before we come back through here, because I have a feeling we're going to have to mine our way to success here. Oh, hey, it's raining. Nice. Love a good rain. But first, let me do this. And we'll get back to base very easily. Let me take this all off. Because we are going to build a beacon. Not like a beacon, but... Wait, can you make obsidian pickaxes in vanilla now? Because if you can, I'll do it. Because I thought that was a modded thing. In fact, hold on, let me look. Oh, because I'm not at a crafting table. There's netherite, but not obsidian. Okay. Okay. So we'll be on the lookout for netherite then. I just wish there were a better way to do this than beaconing my way up and leaving just ugly dirt towers everywhere, but it's very effective. And boop, we now have a tower, which we can find from anywhere in the world? Question mark. All right, and we die from fall damage. Woo! Yeah, I was gonna say the part of the reason we're trying to get sugarcane is because we want to do. Let me put this stuff away. We want to be able to do banners and maps, but we need sugarcane for it to make paper to then make the map. All right, so let me put this here. Put the obsidian back here. All right, and let's make some stuff. Okay. And how much iron do we have? I think just one. Yeah, we just have the one iron. So we're in a bit of a situation here. We'll have to figure out where to go, because I think we just need more iron in general in our life. Diamond would be very nice, but overall we just need more. All right, well, I think what I'm going to do is YouTube. This is where we end this section, but Twitch, stick around because we're going to do a prediction and raid somebody. But YouTube, we'll see you later. Bye-bye, YouTube.